Welcome to Julia Lives. If you are planning a trip to Bali, you are not going to want to miss this video. I took a 10-hour Bali Instagram tour with a private driver for $125. My tour began in Ubud. I was picked up at 5 a.m., but in order to make it to Heaven's Gate to begin the photography, I needed to leave that early. These are the buses that you will get on once you arrive at Heaven's Gate. Remember that you're going up in altitude. Once you arrive, you're given a sarong because that is required to enter the holy, sacred area of Heaven's Gate. Even if you're wearing long pants, everyone has to wear a sarong. I wore flip-flops to walk to Heaven's Gate, but I wouldn't have minded having tennis shoes on just because it is rather steep. Once you arrive, you're given a number, and then you have to wait. If you get there later in the day, you could be waiting as much as 2 hours. I believe my number was 42 or something like that. I arrived at 7:30. It was about a 45-minute wait. Now you can have your picture taken in some of these other areas. You could take pictures of the surrounding area. That's someone who's walking up to have their photograph taken. You'll see in the photos that I post that were of me that there's a difference in how your images are taken by the professional. He holds a mirror under your phone. I was told by my guide to take off the phone case and everything else because you'll achieve the best picture. You yourself are going to look very tiny in the image, so there's no need to put on lots of makeup and have your hair perfect and false eyelashes. You cannot see them in the professional photos. So if you're doing it for those, I would skip that because that Instagram look, you're going to be like a tiny speck. So while you're waiting, you can just socialize and look at the animals or take photos of your own. But it is definitely worth the time to get up to Heaven's Gate. It's absolutely stunning. Here are some of the rules for the area of the temple while you're waiting. So I am next to the wall in this photo so you can see how tiny that is. I also, though, while we were here, was witness to a proposal. There it is. You are allowed to do things like that. Just tell your photographer. There are certain things like you cannot raise your heels above your head in a yoga pose. So if you're into yoga, watch the poses. And yes, she said yes. But you are allowed to do push-ups. There I am doing one. And then off we went after Heaven's Gate to the Water Palace. So this was beautiful. Again, it's one of those areas where you can just get the very perfect photos. You can walk out into the water on these cement pillars, and so that way you can capture yourself in the middle of all this beauty. And look at all those koi fish. You just don't see those in the United States. But there you go. You see some of the people that have walked out to have their photographs taken. The price of admission for each attraction is included in the cost of the tour, but the attractions are rather spread out from one another, and the driving in Bali is quite something. The lunch is also included. I'll talk about the driving in a minute. This was the location for lunch, but our arrival did not align with the opening time. It's a view of a beautiful rice terrace, so instead I had lunch at the waterfall, which was also great, but just so you can kind of see that. There are no traffic signals or speed limits posted anywhere, and so there's tons of traffic, and so you're always passing into head-on traffic, and my driver was just excellent. I cannot believe the patience and the skill that he had. There he is. He was great. His name was Densa. So the next stop, we went on to the waterfall, and so again, this is one of those locations 20,000 rupiah is like $1.50. That's not a lot of money for admissions. Now for this, I wore my flip-flops here. You are going to have to trudge through water. I would not wear tennis shoes here, but my driver or my guide, he also encouraged me to wear shoes because the bottom of the area that you walk through is full of rocks. And so I was glad to have shoes. I did see people sitting down, and you'll see at the end, the stairs to get up and down are incredibly steep and honestly rather treacherous. I would say if you have difficulty with stairs or you have small children, you might want to consider that because it is not easy to get up and down those stairs. And I would say I'm pretty fit. I like to work out, and I thought it was difficult in some spots. But here's the waterfall if you want that perfect Bali Instagram waterfall picture. Here's where you need to come for that. Oh, Jesus. This is the restaurant at the waterfall. Anyone can stop here to get pictures or certainly to eat. Next up, we went to the Bali swing, which I would not do, and you'll hear me talking to my guide as he keeps trying to make me get on the swing. I have a forceful tour guide today. The Bali swing is about 10 minutes away from the rice terrace that you're going to see next. That was part of the tour. The rice terrace also has swings, so you could skip the Bali swing if you were going to go on this tour. I probably would have and asked to see the coffee plantation because that was part of the tour and we did not go on it. So here we are. This is the last stop. Look at that. Isn't it absolutely magical? you can actually walk down there into the rice terrace, and you might be able to see people who are wandering around down there. By the end of 10 hours, I was honestly rather tired and I just didn't feel like doing it. I asked the driver if he was going to be giving the same tour the next day, and he said, "Oh God, I hope not." It will take it out of you being in the car for that long and going in and out of all these sites, but I would say it is well worth it because the attractions are quite distanced apart from one another, so there's just not really another way to get in all of these attractions, visits all of these beautiful cultural spots on your own. I did do the water purification temple in another video. I'll highlight that. But again, that was one of those things that I did that and then I just didn't really feel like doing a whole lot else. So this might also get you to commit to seeing more of Bali if you decide to take a trip there. Well worth it, I'd say.